Okay, so today this project has got quite a few steps, so I'm going to have to kind of do one step and then put it to one side and then bring it back in again a bit later on. So first thing I want to do, hopefully if my hot glue gun is warmed up enough now, is to take this pocket watch cast resin piece and I'm going to flip it that way and then dump a load of glue just in the middle because there's quite a few kind of cavities, and then I've got this skull, so I'm going to drop the skull just over the top of the clock like so. So now that that's in place, we've now got a skull that's got kind of like a riveted halo all the way around it, and then that bottom part of the pocket watch, or the top, what was the top part, which now becomes the bottom part, now looks like a kind of filigree spinal column coming down to the bottom part. So it's like the neck, the bones in the neck, if you get what I mean. That's what it looks like to me. So we've got those glued on. I am going to add these two wings into the project, but not just yet. And then those two screw heads will go over the top just to hide that kind of join on the front of the project. But that's pretty much what I want to do just to start off with. So there's that bit that's been done now, so I can forget about that for the minute. The next is my little storage jar. So this, it was an old pickle jar. It actually had caramelized red onion chutney in it, which is beautiful with cheese. Still smells a little bit, but not too bad. So what I want to do with this is I want to cover it completely in a texture. I don't want to just paint it, because you don't really get a decent texture if you just paint glass as it is. So I've got this old napkin. So what I want to do is just remove the plies. I've already kind of half taken some of the ply off. It doesn't really make any difference whether it's patterned or not. We're not using it for the pattern. So I'm just going to tear it. There we go. And I'm going to kind of decoupage, if you like. So you can see there's still one of the plies on there, but that doesn't really matter. So let's just tear that, and hopefully there'll have been enough there to cover the entire of the jar. So I've got some matte medium, which I'm just going to squeeze onto my mat, and then I'm just going to put some of the matte medium onto the glass. Haven't really decided what's the top, what's the front and what's the back. It doesn't really make any difference. And then I'm just going to saturate the tissue with the matte medium so that it just kind of wraps and forms itself around the bottle. And like I said, if you're using a tissue like this, it doesn't really make any difference whether you've got 1 ply, 2 ply or whatever. It's thin enough that it will soak through. Let's get some of that underneath. And if you've got a few wrinkles in your tissue, it don't matter. Don't sweat the small stuff, as I've said before. So let's grab some of that medium underneath. And then we can just start going all the way around. Like I said, if you've got a few wrinkles in it, it don't matter. It just adds to the kind of general texture of the bottle. So we'll go to the next piece. I'll just go around the rest. Fairly quick kind of process, this one. And then just grab your next piece and then lay that over. and like I said, it doesn't matter, it's going to get painted anyway. All the way around. And then you can start to overlap your pieces if you want to try and eliminate some of those wrinkles. There we go. You can just tear it and then lay it back down again. So just with those two pieces, I've been able to go all the way around the jar. Just like that. I'm not going to do the bottom. Okay, now if you want to, you can then just grab your last ply, just get a thin strip. And what I'm going to do is I've deliberately left the lid on so that I don't get any of the matte medium actually on the screw part of the lid, because I still want to be able to get in and out of the jar. So I'm just going to go around, and then I'm going to take some of that tissue and I'm just going to squinch it just into that section underneath. Just wrap it round. And it doesn't matter if the tissue tears a little bit. You can scrunch, roll, wrinkle. It really don't matter. Just go around one more time. See, I've got a little bit, that's just torn a bit there, that's fine. There we go. And then we can discard the rest, or if you're doing multiple bottles, use it on another one, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to be using the one today, so that will go in the bin, and then I can just gently heat it. Okay, so the jar is now dry. While it was drying, I took the opportunity just of covering the lid as well, just around the outside. So the next thing to do is to paint it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Indigo Blue Raven Black, which is a kind of black metallic paint. I'm hoping that there's enough left in. If there isn't, I'll have, yeah, possibly just enough. So Ian's been in here. Yeah, it's probably just enough. I can say that there is an alternative that I could have used if there wasn't going to be enough paint. I think we're going to have just the right amount. So this colour is almost like hematite, so it's just got like a real deep, almost like charcoaly colour, but with that metallic shine to it. So probably is just enough to do 2 coats with this, but depending on how the next coat goes, or the next layer of colour that I want to do, we might not even end up seeing it in the end, but it makes a real good kind of like base layer to start off with. Okay. Just enough there, I think. I think I may have to have words with Ian next time because there's not a huge amount left. But like I said, enough to do 2 coats probably. Okay, so that's the first coat on the jar, and then we'll just have that first coat on the lid. Right, just grab my tweezers. There we go. Better. I suppose it would help if I actually gripped tighter. Okay, first coat done. You can see the shine on it already, look. Look at that, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to give these a quick blast with the heat gun. Not too much, because obviously it's glass. Really doesn't take long at all to dry. Okay, so let's just squeeze out the last dregs in there, and then we'll just give it that final second coat. Perfect. Cool. Okay, happy with that second coat. Just enough left. So, get it quickly dried off and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now that's pretty much dry. I can put it to one side. So now I'm going to come back to my resin pieces. So because I've run out of that raven black. Oh, I've obviously got food on the brain at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give these items a quick once over with, oh well, maybe once or twice over with black gesso. Making sure I get into all of the kind of cavities and indentations into the design. And it doesn't matter the fact that they're different colours, because once they're painted they'll be completely unified. So this may take a couple of coats, which is fine. So just grab something just to hold that down with. Just hold it in position while I'm painting. And then we'll just twizzle it round and then make sure we get into all the edges, the nooks and the crannies, or the crooks and the nannies, as I like to say. Okay, so that's first coat done for the main item, and then we can just get on to our little pieces. Doesn't matter hugely if these aren't perfect, because we are going to be adding another coat of colour of something else later on. Okay, so first coat of the gesso done. Let's get them all dried and then we can add a second coat as needed. Really doesn't take long to dry at all. And you can see if you've missed any areas. It doesn't look like it, which is good. Just hold you down again. Okay, for that one, and then the wings. Because they're in small pieces, it really doesn't take long, and it certainly doesn't take long to dry. By the time I've cleaned and tidied my work mat, that lot will be completely dry. Cool. Okay, so now they're sorted out, they're ready to be glued onto the front of the jar. I want to now create some bits and pieces to go on the sides. I'm not going to do anything on the back, so I want those two kind of cherubs to go on the sides. That's going to go onto the lid, or I may swap that. Haven't decided yet. I think that's probably better to go on the lid there. They can go on the sides, and then if there's room I may just add a few small bits just underneath these two as well. So I need to paint all this lot black as well. So I did say this project had lots of small parts to it. Okay, so they've all had a couple of coats of gesso, so I'm ready for sticking things down onto the jar. So I'm going to use my hot glue gun just for speed, really, because otherwise I'd have to wait a good couple of hours between applications of everything, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to put a quick bead of this hot glue onto the back here, and I'm just going to stand it up quickly. There we go. That's now attached, so I'm just going to be very careful that I don't burn my fingers, because I did do the other day quite badly. Got a blister on the end of my finger there, look. Not worried about the strings, get rid of those later. Just got to make sure like I said, it's paramount that I don't burn myself at this stage. That's it. It's almost like the indentations in the underside of that watch and those wings, it was actually made for each other. Right, so little glob, this is where I burnt my finger last time. Too much glue, and it was red hot. There we go. And then one more on this side, again just a small amount. Hopefully I don't burn my fingers again. so I'm hoping the camera's picking that up. It's not out of focus or anything, but it's difficult to see because it is black. It's black on black, so it is kind of difficult to see. Right, so I'll turn it up to the side, and then I'm going to stick this one on. So I'll just do a quick bead of glue around there. And we'll get that into the middle. That's going nowhere. Flip that over and get the other big one. A bead around there. And we'll stick that one in the middle. And that ain't going nowhere. Cool. Okay. So this is going to be kind of difficult to do. So what I'll have to do on this one is put a blob on the head. Actually, I'll just put a blob all the way down. And hopefully turn it that way. A little cherub, and I'll get a cloth. Now that's uneven, just to kind of level it off, and do the same thing again at this side. What happened there? Where did that big blob of glue come from? Alright, let's get this down before it sets. There we have it. And the thing with these hot glue gun strings is, I've said it before, you can brush them off, or you can just put your heat gun onto it and it'll just melt them away. So we've now got one on either side, and now it's difficult to see. I don't think there's any room for those other smaller cogs, so what I might do is I might just see whether I can fit, that's going on the lid, some of these smaller ones and a little cluster at the back. So maybe small one first, larger one, maybe just like that, and then B. Just so there's something there. Asking for punishment, but never mind. Right, so a little blob on the back. Go there first. See, how did I manage to get some on my finger? It's just, it's a mystery to me. There we go. Right, so larger one. That can sit there, just coming off a little bit. That's cool. Yep, and that can fit just in there. Little blob. See, I've been living in this house now nearly 4 years. I'm right-handed, but the electric sockets are on the left-hand side. You'd think I would have organised it so they're on the right-hand side, wouldn't you? I know. Crazy stuff. So, like that. And then the last one, well, the last one for the sides of the jar anyway. And that can sit just in the middle there. Bit 3D. Cool. All right, so we've got front, sides, and then the back. So let's just sort out the lid. So a little blob in the middle, and just a tad all the way around. And we'll sit that. Now, what I want to do before I stick the moon on is actually close the lid. There we are. At least then I know which way it's going to face forward. Right, so put a fair amount all the way around and a big blob in the middle. And then we can drop that right in the centre and literally just let its own weight just let it seat. That's it. I've got one little cog left. Should I just stick it in there? Yeah, why not? Why not? Why the devil not? I think in this instance, more's more. And then I'm getting glue everywhere. The thing with these glue guns is that they do tend to leave blobs wherever you put it down. There we go. Glue strings galore. Right, so I'm going to leave this just to cool down for a second or two, just so that I know that nothing's going to move even by accident, and then we can come back in and mix some colour. Okay, so I've just had to adjust the exposure a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. So there's the skull with the halo, there's the face on top, the cherubs at both sides, and then on the back we've just got that cluster of cogs. Okay, so we're now ready to start adding some colour to this. So I'm just going to take the lid off. I've got my indigo blue luscious powders here, and I've taken two particular colours out. These are, we've got verdigris, and then we've got grungy gold. I know they're difficult to see at the moment because of the colour and the brightness. Let me just see if I can darken it up a little bit. Click on auto, there we go. Alright, so you can't really see the colour in there. It's a kind of like dark brown with hints of green in there, and then the grungy gold is kind of a greeny, kind of greeny gold, almost like an aged antique gold. So that's going to be the finishing coat. So this is going to be the first coat. Let me just move those out of the way. Alright, so these are water reactive powders. They're pigment powders with lots and lots of mica in them. You see the shine. When mixed with a gloss medium, you can create a gloss metallic finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add equal parts kind of powder to the gloss, and I'm just going to use this little palette knife just to kind of mix it together, just like Michelangelo would have done with his pigments and his oil, and literally just exactly the same kind of method. You grab your egg and your oil and your pigments and you mix them all together to create this kind of thick, beautiful kind of shimmering paste, except Michelangelo didn't use mica in his projects. So I'll just wipe that off. Can you imagine what his paintings would have been like if he had it done? Yeah, the Sistine Chapel would have looked completely different, wouldn't it? Right, I've got two brushes. So these are Dino Wakelet brushes. These are the flat brushes. These are the long-handled ones that I've had to cut down, mainly because they interfere with the autofocus on the computer. So I'm going to take some of this paint, or this lovely kind of metallic-y, luscious mixture, and I'm going to go over everything. Can you see now how it's just starting to, I'm going to get into all the kind of nooks and crannies with this. You see how it's starting to really kind of bring all that detail to the fore. I mean, this verdigris colour is a perfect kind of Halloweeny colour because it's got that dark, almost ethereal colour tone to it. There's hints of copper, but there's also hints of green. There's hints of red, like deep crimsons, all kind of shimmering to the surface as soon as you start to add a colour to your project. And taking it over the top of the black paint just adds an extra depth. As much in the detail as possible. I mean, it's completely changed colour now. Look. Oh, it's beautiful. But the other thing about this is, it's already dry. It's craziness. I mean, this, mixing it with the gloss medium, these mica powders with the gloss medium, is a recent kind of aha moment. Which is why all of a sudden you'll probably see me use it quite a lot, because it was just one of those kind of fantastic, I never knew it did that kind of moments. And as soon as you find out that's what it does, and those are the kind of effects that you get, you kind of don't want to use anything else. For a while, until you get fed up of it, obviously. Okay. So I'll start on the wings on this one. But yeah, it's just one of those kind of techniques where it is addictive when you get to play with it and do stuff with it. You can't get enough. But I'm sure one of these days I'll go, yeah, do you know what, I've done that quite a bit. Let's move on to something else. But in the meantime, I'm just enjoying the joy, if you like, of the creativity using these things, because it just sparks all sorts of different inspiration across the board. I mean, this particular colour, like I said, it's got reds and it's got greens and coppers and good knows what else inside it. Would be a beautiful colour to do, like for dragonfly wings, that kind of thing, because it's just magical. It's magical. Right, let's do the back. So try and get into all that detail. And as you're moving around, tilting from different directions, you get different colour tones, but also you can see if there's anywhere that you've actually missed. Okay, so let's bring the lid in just before we run out. Just watch this face. Tell me that's not magic. It's just unbelievable. Going around the lid. So this is why I wanted that texture underneath it all. Just adds an additional dimension. Oh, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Look at the way it shines. Okay, so I'm going to give it a minute. I mean, pretty much that's dry. It's dry, completely and utterly dry. The minute is only for me to just clean my brush, and it really doesn't take long to clean off at all. As you can see, the copper, the brown's in there, look. But when you hold it up to the light, it's kind of like greeny sheen. Love it. Love it loads. Right, so we're not going to need that, so we can clean that up. So let me have a quick tidy up, quick clean, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I know, just right, so I want to add some warm, kind of grungy gold highlights to it. So I'm going to squirt out a little bit, and I'm going to bring in that grungy gold next. And again, like I said, equal amounts of powder to gloss. And then we can just mix it together. I mean, look at that already. I mean, can you imagine that through a stencil? I mean, I don't know whether the camera's actually picking that up, but just the beautiful kind of shimmer that's in there. Right, so the gloss medium is white, and obviously when it dries, I don't know if you can see that, when it dries, that white disappears and it goes completely transparent. So Yeah. Right, let's do the lid first then. Is that the dry one? Is that the one I've just washed? That one's still a little bit damp. Okay, I'm just going to pick up and we're just going to dry brush with that gold. Just take a small amount. You just see the warmth. Love it. Okay. And then I'll just take a little bit of that gold. And it's just a light brush. You really don't need a huge amount. Just a little bit across the brows, that's it. Oh, what's the matter, Mr. Bentley Booze? Eh? What's the matter? Is it time to play? Eh? You feeling all left out? Oh yeah, he's laid behind me. Watch on the cherub. It just starts to pick out that detail again. And I'm just catching a little bit around the edges of the bottle, just on the corners. And then we'll do the cogs. Just the surface. And then again this side, just gentle dry brushing. A bit heavier in the corners. Oh, look at that now. Just a little bit behind that. That's it, I think. And then the back. You can see the texture in those cogs. Love it. And then now, let's just go around just a tad, just around the outside of the jar lid, because it's drying really quickly. It's just picking out that texture. Loving it. Now you wouldn't have thought that was a pickle jar, would you? Okay, so just to finish off then, a little bit of a close-up on the final jar. And you can see that beautiful kind of gold shimmer coming through amongst all those other colours. So like I said, who'd have thought an hour or so ago this was just a humble pickle jar. Now I've got somewhere to store some magical ingredients. That's it, we get the lid on the right way. By magical ingredients I mean sweeties. So there you go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me alter this pickle jar or this spooky storage jar. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll be back again very, very soon with another Halloween project.